Is the education system in Kenya, and not only in Kenya, in the world, is it rigged? Is it supposed to work against us, or is it for us? Come with me as I just take you through my thoughts today. So, in the recent past, there has been a clear disregard for education. This is from people who have made it or have perceived to have made it, and most likely have not used the route that we all envision. And the route that we are talking about is where you go to primary school, you go to secondary school, you go to university, get a job, and voila, you reach. But then today, in this age, there has been a rise of social media influencers, there has been a rise of content creators, and the young people are earning through their skills and their talents. Does it then mean that the education system is not supposed to work for us? In this economy, in this country, where we have thousands of youth being jobless, it's said you are either book smart or you are either street smart. So let's go back to where it all began. In the ancient times, I don't know about you, but if you were to look back and ask in your community, there was a system that people used to follow. In the Kamba community, it was called Wadi. I'm not sure if other communities have a name for it, but then people used to be schooled on a particular way. But then education came, and by education I mean the normal system where we go and learn to read and write, alphabets, maths, and all that. And this was for the aim of literacy. It was meant to enable us to learn languages. It was to enable us to read and write. That was the most and core reason why people went to school. But then look at us in the ancient times. You will grow up, you will wake up, you will till your land. When you had parents, and parents when they had children, children were the source of labor. And you will find that children were just basically brought up, taught by the community and all that. But then there was no a system where people followed. It was then you birth, initiation, marriage, and death. But then let us look back to what we used to do before. Should we have remained there, or should we have been introduced into the education system? So, if we did not learn, we had the issue of language barrier. We did have a common language where we could speak. The Kambas could speak their language, the Khoikhoi and San could speak their language, and all that. So there was no common understanding apart from the communities. There were certain ways that people used to communicate in terms of smoke signals, drums, and you could hear a certain pattern and you could know something has happened. People had a way to decipher and get information. But then when you look at the education system and maybe at the advancement of technology, you find that things have been made easier. In that, before we used to have an X, today we use the power soap. Before we used to wash our clothes with our hands, today we have the washing machines. Has it made us lazier? That's a subject for discussion. But then we see that there is a good side and a downside to it. And people don't have a problem with the knowledge. People don't have a problem with the empowerment. But now the system has changed. We now have to work. And it's not any easier. Before, it was just, we just existed, to be honest. We just existed. And if you look at other things, we have transportation. If we could have remained in our normal setup, you find that these are things that we will have either missed out or we will not have advanced. So there are many topics we can talk about, but then when you look at the ancient times and how we lived, we were more healthier. Let that sink in. We were more healthier, there was the obesity and all that. But then let's go back, or let's now talk about the education system and what it is. So first off, you are introduced to alphabets, you read and you write. But then the teacher comes to school and, hey, today we're going to learn about calculus, algebra, agrarian revolution, vitatanishi. Where does it help us today? That is the question that people keep on asking every single time. But then there's a difference. Today, or the education system today in Kenya is rooted in cramming. Education is the key to success. That is what we were all told that growing up. And when we became adults, we were waiting to reap the fruits of our labor. Come on, come on. The teacher lied to us. Was education really the key to success? This is a dream that was sold to many, including I. And every day we woke up, we went to school, we spent hours on end, toiling hard to pass exams. You were told 25% was from the teacher and you were going to do the 75% of it. There are two defining moments for every Kenyan child. Not initiation, not marriage. When you do your KCPE and when you do your KCSE. Let's not talk about campus. We all know what goes in there and the ghetto that it is. And that's why right now it's being propagated that people who go to campus, they are half-baked and all that, all those things that they say about people who have undergone their undergraduate studies. So you do your KCPE and then you get what? 300 and above marks out of possible 500. This is only meant to help you secure a good school. And again, the good schools are classified. So they are national, they are provincial, and they are county schools. I don't know what it is right now. But then, this is how things are classified. But then, the essence of KCPE is just to help you secure a good school. No one will ask you ever again in your life what you got in your KCPE. And then, when you go to KCSE, it's meant to, that's where at least grades start to matter. But then, let's talk about the discrepancy. And this is the first thing that we're going to talk about. The discrepancy or the inequality that is there in the education system. Because, like I said, there are national schools, there are provincial schools, and they are segmented. But then something I've noticed is this poses an inequality because you find the young little child in the rural areas goes to the local school. So people sometimes even just bribe to get their way into these national schools. So it's not even about the money sometimes. It's not about the grade sometimes. It's about the money. But then someone who is somewhere deep-rooted in Kadonzweni or deeply rooted in Chepalungu will not have access to certain facilities. So for example, things such as just a lab. There are some schools up to date, they fundraise to just get a laboratory. Tell me how this child is supposed to compete with the rest, because the idea of competition has been sold to us because we are always learning or reading to just pass exams. Okay? This is where the grain is separated from the chaff. Okay? And then when you even look at co-curricular activities, not all of them have the same resources. And that's why you find the same schools will keep being in the nationals. The same schools will keep excelling in drama. The same schools will keep being on the top. Why? Because first of all, there is a person who is disadvantaged. Second of all, they cannot even grow their talents. They have to work more harder than the person who is from a national school. This is the first step, or this is the first instance of inequality that we come up with. So, come KCSE, you find people are celebrated. If you don't get the cut-off marks, you're doomed. And sometimes it's a B, sometimes it's a B minus. And if you don't get the cut-off point, you're not sponsored. You either go through parallel and pay a lot of money, a lot of fees for you to get educated. Again, you can choose to go do a diploma, or there's some bridging courses, and then you can choose to maybe even some people just repeat classes in order to get this cutoff points. But again, this is where, again, you see the sense of inequality in that in my own country, I have to pay for more in order to access a certain level of education. I have to take a more longer time, go do a diploma, certificate, so that I can come and do an undergraduate. But at the end of it all, there's a level. So what are we telling to these people who don't excel in their academics? That they are good for nothing. This is the point that most people tend to despair. This is the point that most people tend to lose hope. This is the point that some people even just go to crime. But then again, this is the point that people choose to what to do with their lives. This is the point where people start to think about businesses. This is the point where people start thinking about going overseas. But then, shouldn't there be an equal ground? And when you finish this, you will hear people say that the people who get A's, there was actually a study that was done, but the people who get A's, they get scholarships and they go abroad. I'll tell you why this is important and why this information matters. The people who get B's work for the people who got C's, who have now gone and done businesses, and the people who get B's are like the middle class. So they work for the people who got C's. And the people who get D's are street smart. So they end up being more successful because to them, the way that was the path that was crafted for them, they find other alternative ways to actually beat the system. So why did they lie to us? After you finish campus, you're told that the market is saturated, that you can't graduate, the 20,000 of you, and you're scrambling for the cake, and the cake is very little. You know, I once overheard two Masons talking about how before girls never went to school and men could join the military and girls could get married to either teachers or military personnel. It was the fastest and most convenient way. Then when education came up, you find that people started joining schools, you know. And I was just looking at the before and the today. People will opt for the most convenient way. And when education was introduced, you find that people who were the first to get educated in the Kenyan system were actually very successful. Because, first of all, they will come out of campus and they had jobs waiting for them. In fact, I once sat down with one person who was telling me that they could be headhunted. There were jobs waiting for them before they even graduated. Before there was something called boom, which is equivalent to today's help. But people were able to pay it. People were able to clear their help. But then even if you hear about what they used to eat then, students were taken care of. Today's in the mess, for 10 bob, 20 bob, you get to eat ugali and some badly cooked skuma. But I want you to just see the difference and see how even the atmosphere that we are always learning from and the abuse that we constantly take from the system and the abuse that we constantly take from the system to missed marks where you have to follow up with lecturers for hours on end for them to actually give you something that you actually did, a paper that you sat for, but then you have to now go ahead and just ask for them to give you your marks. For that same very reason, people even end up not graduating. How are then learners supposed to learn if they are not even in good situations? Go and even look at the laboratories and the toilets in campuses. Some of them are pathetic. Some of them even have to sleep and their mattresses have bed bugs. You cannot tell me this is an issue of not a person's cleanliness. No, when it's rampant all across campus. So how are people supposed to even learn, get basic education in that same very system? Again, we can't really blame our parents. If that is what they had, I would even tell my child to study, because you had a job waiting for you. There's a reason why they saw that education was the gateway to success. It was all in good faith, I will say. Our parents wanted the best for us. But then fast forward to today, we live in a poor economy. The labor market has shrinked, corruption everywhere. We have accepted it to even be part of our life. When we have a government that thinks TVETs are the way to go, that we need artisans and plumbers, while they take their children to study overseas, who's taking who for a ride? Well, you can't even trust an engineer who has graduated from Kenya to build our Kenyan roads. We have to give it to the Chinese. We can't trust our doctors, and we can't even treat them with the dignity they deserve, that they constantly have to go to the streets to ask for pay rise. Again, who's fooling who? But when karma hits and they get sick and they can't even be treated by medical doctors in Kenya, they would rather opt to go overseas because they don't trust us. They don't trust our education system. They don't trust us to have gone through the very best, and that's why they cannot even trust their lives with us. But it's okay to be mtu wa mkono. It's okay to be a right-hand man. They want us to do administrative work. They want us to do data entry. That is what most of the people are doing right now. While these are jobs that even in the current age will have to be replaced by AI. At least a certain portion, And you can't even say no to the meager salary that people get in the jobs they are currently in. And you cannot even ask for a pay rise, because if you don't accept that job, someone else will. But is it supposed to be this way? So the exploitation continues. I wouldn't really blame the people. We were played. Education is meant to empower, is meant to inspire learning and acquire knowledge, is meant to enable us to have critical thinking, to solve life puzzles, is meant to enhance communication. It's meant to help us prepare of how we interact and live in the society. Education is meant to help us understand people from different backgrounds. Education is meant for growth and development. Education is meant for self-discovery and awareness. We're supposed to learn, we're supposed to enhance and grow our talents and skills, and to enable us to just live a happy life. But then, is this the kind of education we are exposed to? Is CBC going to be the solution for this? I don't think so. We're supposed to get good education. Does the system offer this? Again, that's something, a subject up for discussion. So if we don't get all this, then is it a means to an end? Is it the only thing? Education is something, and we all need it for the reasons I've articulated above. Do we then stop taking our children to school? No. Because if you don't, then they will be disadvantaged. But then you have to be constantly aware of the current changes that are happening. That you have to look at what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And the world is opening up. We are going global. You can learn from people. You can learn online. You can learn from books. Just away from the traditional form of learning. We must endeavor to do this. To be at a position where we're continuously learning and improving ourselves. to ensure that we have the knowledge and skills and apply it to build wealth and to sustain it, to live an optimal life and to relate well with others, because these are the key things that we should do in life. I'll pose it back to you. Is the education system in Kenya rigged? Let me know in the comment section. Let it be a discussion. I would want to know your thoughts. But as it is right now, you take what is offered, but then don't be closed-minded. Open your eyes, open your heart, open your brain, and accept to learn. That is the only way you will survive. And hopefully, we build a very good country. We show up in our best selves, and we challenge the system. Because I believe it's that way for a reason. So, wake up. Kenya, rise up. Africans, wake up. Having said that, and in the spirit of learning, I have a course on my website, askdamaris.com. Go there, create an account, register, log in, and for only 2100 Kenya shillings, you get access to 5 videos. You get to learn about why first impressions matter and why it's important, how to overcome stress in the workplace, how to interview, how to build your personal brand, and lastly, how to be a good public speaker. Like I said, there's no end to learning. So go there, grab your course today, and watch it, learn as you go at the comfort of your home, your laptop, your phone. Easy peasy and friendly. And remember to follow us on Instagram at askdamaris.com. And until next time, this is Maisha Chapters.